Alright, so today was a very weird and long day for me. Obviously you can tell I'm showered and clean, I'm not coated in dirt. Today was a really weird race day. First of all, I guess for any of you who don't follow me on Instagram or Snapchat, I think if you don't, then you didn't get to hear the shocking news that I realized last night. Last night while I was in bed, I was scrolling through Instagram and I came across another fellow racer's post on just talking about the races this weekend, and luckily enough I read his caption because I would have been thoroughly fucked if I hadn't today. His comment said something along the lines of this weekend, something, I don't remember exactly what it was. It was something along the lines of just talking about the schedule for this weekend for the races, and it just said something about super beast or sprint, beast, and super. And the minute I read that, I was really confused, and for a second I thought maybe he had made a mistake. And then I quickly went on the website to check my times, and I had a really weird moment because I was just like, what is going on? I don't understand why he would say that. Until I scrolled down to the very bottom of the profile page for this weekend and realized that the race schedule for this weekend was actually Sprint B Super. So for anybody who doesn't understand what I'm talking about, basically Spartan has many different kinds of races and has many different levels as far as what class you can go into, whether you're in the elite heats, or the open heats, or for kids, or blah blah blah, whatever, you get my drift. And then there's also the three main races. There's the sprint, which is the easiest one. It's the shortest race with 10 plus obstacles. Then there is the super, which is anywhere from 12 to 14 kilometers. It honestly just depends on the property they're holding it on. And then there's also the beast, which is supposed to be the hardest of all the race. It's supposed to be the hardest out of the three races. And basically I was mentally prepared to do the beast on Sunday, aka tomorrow, and then just go home wrecked and just be exhausted. And I quickly realized that that was not going to happen, that I was actually running the beast today, which I was not mentally prepared for. I don't feel like I was mentally prepared this weekend at all for these races, to be completely honest. And I almost feel like today I learned a lot. So this is going to be kind of a therapy session video. The reality is that this morning when I woke up, I didn't even want to get out of bed. And I asked myself, am I going to regret not going to the race today? And I didn't have an ounce of regret about not going today. And that was honestly the very first time I've ever felt that. And I didn't want to get out of bed, and I did. And by the time I even got to the property and to the venue, to the time where I was kind of standing around waiting in the waiting area, just kind of around the starting line and stretching and blah, 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 and, just getting my stuff together, I think even then I kept saying, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I don't know why I'm here, and I don't want to do this. And then so much so that even the first 2 or 3 kilometers into the race, I seriously considered veering off the course and just leaving. Which I've never, ever, ever have felt so... I've never had that feeling before, where I genuinely wanted to just leap over the plastic sectioned off area and just go home. I didn't want to be there today. And the more I ran, the further I went along this course, and the further and further I got on the property, I think I realized a lot of things, which I do want to share with you guys, because maybe some of you are also struggling with this. And I talked a lot about it in my last video, how it's kind of dark, but the reality is lately the reasons, especially this year, the reasons I've been doing these races because I feel like the physical pain helps to mask, or it helps to relieve the mental pain that I've kind of been going through this year. And I realized more so with this particular race today that I am not angry anymore. And what I mean by that is that since even last year's Beast, I've been running my races based around anger, feeling like I had to prove something to the world, being really angry about it, feeling like I had to prove everything, prove that I could do this, like prove it to my exes that aren't even a part of my life, and I don't even think they have any concept of me or have any acknowledgement to my acknowledging my existence. And that doesn't make any sense, but I hopefully you understand what I'm saying. You guys understand what I'm saying. But I harbored so much anger, and for the longest time I ran these races on a lot of anger. And I feel like I've heard this conversation go on a lot in MMA, and I watch a lot of MMA, and I listen to a lot of commenters and podcasts talking about MMA. And the reason I'm, like, bringing this up, because I feel like they relate this to a lot of fighters who fight angry, and how that you can see the fighters that do fight angry, that they burn out quickly, that they make mistakes, that they just go all out and, like, try and punch their way out of, you know, whatever fight they're in, and how that just doesn't necessarily work all the time. And today I finally realized I'm not angry anymore. I'm not even so much sad. I just realized that I think I'm really lonely. Like, all weekend I've been surrounded by a lot of couples and a lot of, like, groups of friends or pairs of people, and it just, like, I realized that I'm lonely and that I need to start socializing more, and that I need to make more friends, and that I need to start trusting people, because isolating myself and being afraid of even making eye contact with people, which is kind of where I still am at, I realized today, I have a really hard time making eye contact with people. Like, I'm having a hard time even staring at the camera right now. And I also realized I don't know why I'm running these races anymore. I learned this last summer that I can run these races, I can get them done, and that it's not a question of whether or not I can get them done. I knew that this weekend was going to be hard, and my body was going to be sore. Like, for the most part, I'm really bruised up right now. Let's see if I can show you guys. Like, my legs, that's just, like, my thigh there. And then my knees are pretty banged up. And then there's my shin from, like, the bottom of my shin, and my ankle's cut up a little bit. That's just, like, that's an accumulation of today and yesterday. Like, my body's pretty bruised up, and I for the most part, I, like, straight up walked a majority, if not all of this race. Mostly because I just couldn't get the pace going, and that's my biggest issue with running, is I have a really hard time pacing. I don't know how to pace. I don't know how to relax and catch my breath, and that's a big problem that I've realized a lot recently as I've tried to start getting back into running, is that I forget to breathe sometimes. And, like, I hope that some of you understand kind of what I mean by that. It's like, obviously I'm breathing, but I'm not really, like, pacing my heart and my actual breathing through my nose and then through my mouth. Like, I'm not pacing any of that, and that's always been my biggest issue with running. But I realized today that I don't know why I'm running these races. I don't feel like I have to anymore, or I don't feel that same, I don't know if it's a challenge, like a lot of people say. Like, I was talking to my trainer a little bit earlier about it, and he's like, you need to always have some sort of challenging aspect to kind of whatever you do, because it like, the reality is, if I don't have something like that challenges me, I get bored really quickly, and I'm just gonna stop doing it. That's the problem. I think this year I realized, especially after the hurricane heat, that that's definitely more my shtick. Like, the reality is that I didn't go into this with this mentality. Like, I'm not a podium chaser. Like, I have no interest in getting gold or first place or winning money. Like, that's never been why I did these races. Like, it's just not the reason why I do them. It's just kind of like a part of this thing that, like, it's an aspect of these races, and I've never been interested in it. I really like the endurance side of these things. And yes, there's obviously a very large aspect of these, like, the three main races, that there is an endurance side of it, whether we like it or not. There's endurance kind of throughout the course, but something about the hurricane heats is very different, where it's calculated, you do it as a group, there's no set time, and you kind of all suffer together, and you get to learn about each other really quickly, and you're kind of forced to make friends really quickly. And for somebody who has a really hard time making friends, it's kind of nice to be in a situation where I'm forced to communicate with other people. It's this course, I don't know. It's just like, I don't feel like I have to do these races anymore. Like, I even thought about not going tomorrow and not finishing my trifecta. Like, I thought about what it would be like if I went home tomorrow without a trifecta, and am I gonna be crazy disappointed? And my answer to myself was no. I'm not gonna be disappointed, because I came here, I did more than I thought I guess I could, and but at the same time, like, I knew I could, like, I know I can do these races. It's, again, physically, it's not a question of whether I can. I can do them at my own pace, and I can get them done within whatever time that I have. Today I told myself, if it's gonna take all day, it's gonna get done, even if it takes all day. Like, it'll get done. And it did. It just, like, walking in those fields and walking further and further, I just realize that it's not the same. It doesn't feel the same for me anymore. And I don't know what that is. And I definitely want to say, one of the things I was thinking about and that I definitely wanted to say is, like, especially when it comes to seeing all these groups of friends and seeing all these people that are doing it together, I've always said it, I've always, from the very beginning, I've always said that you can do these races alone. You don't have to do them with anybody else, because you're going to meet people along the way. And I still stand by that 100%. The problem is that I'm just so socially awkward and uncomfortable around people right now that I'm not having fun, in the sense of, like, I'm not making conversations with people that I'm walking past. I'm surprised when somebody says good job as they walk by, or, like, run by me or walk by me or whatever. It's just, it's really hard, like, for me right now to socialize and make friends. And this weekend has been has felt even lonelier, because I'm staying in a house by myself. And I don't know. I don't know. I just, like, today I had a lot of time to think. So I really thought about, why am I still doing these races? And I couldn't come up with a good enough reason anymore. And I seriously, like, thought about, okay, well, if I don't have a good reason to run these races anymore, like, am I prepared, or am I willing to go and do the Hurricane Heat event that's happening in November? And, like, I was so excited about it, up until this weekend, and seriously thinking about it the last couple of weeks. And then just today kind of hit home that the reality is that I don't think I'm, well, physically, the other thing that I realized today is that I am, for like, my body and for myself, I am starting at ground zero. I've got no cardio. I've got limited cardio. My physical strength is minimal. My grip strength is non-existent. And it's very defeating that when I started these races 3 years ago, like, I literally got into the best shape of my life to run the first race. But then again, I don't, and I kind of have held on to that image in my mind the last 2 years, thinking that's exactly where I was, but I'm not. I'm the furthest thing from. I was going to the gym every single day. I was barely drinking. I was not, I was watching what I was eating. I was really pushing myself to be the best version of myself. And with everything that has happened this year, I have seriously struggled with trying to be the best version of myself when I've just struggled being healthy and okay, like fit, like just health wise being okay. And that really, like, all that happened when that all happened at the end, like, when was it? May? I think it all happened in May. I think it was in May. When all of that went down at, like, the tail end of May, and then I think it was at the beginning of June, it all happened. It just stripped me of everything. Like, my doctors told me I couldn't do anything for 4 weeks. I couldn't lift anything heavy. I couldn't run. I couldn't do anything. And that was horrifying to me. So to just be okay health-wise, to be happy and healthy enough to just be able to, like, go to work and function, and then, work a crazy busy 8+ hour day where I'm throwing, I'm not doing, like, my job isn't easy in the sense, like, I'm still doing a lot of physical labor at my job for, like, 8 hours plus a day. So it's like, to just be back to a place where I can do that, I'm so happy that I can. And to then show up and do the sprint, like, it, and then just even before that, to do the hurricane heat and then do the sprint yesterday, and to now have finished the beast, like, I feel accomplished enough. Like, this year, after that doctor basically said I'm done, I thought this year was just a wash, was a complete wash of my race schedule, of everything. Like, this year has just, basically, I gave up a long time ago. I gave up a long time ago. That's just the reality. And the reason I gave up a long time ago was because it was very traumatic what I went through. And I hate to, like, I felt for a long time throwing that, like, I felt like whenever I said traumatic I didn't want to minimalize what people go through when it really is crazy traumatic, where people find out that they have cancer or they're having major surgery. Like, I didn't go through anything. I mean, I thought it may be cancer, to be completely honest. Luckily it was not, and everybody kept saying it's it happens, it's not that big of a deal, it just happened to happen to you, and you're just gonna have to deal with a lot of doctor's visits over the next couple of weeks. And I was just like, well, you may as well have just, stripped me anyways. Like, either way, it was a lot. It was a lot for me to deal with, to not have the decision. The decision was made for me by my body and by my doctors, and that was scary. That was really scary, because that was the first time in my life I had no control. I had zero control over what was going on. And today, the further I ran and the further I walked and the further I got in this race and, like, jogged and walked and jogged and walked and mostly walked, I realized that that's life. Like, we live in this world where we have limited control to what actually happens. And whether we think that we have all the control in the world to, in our lives, it's just like, we have limited control over what actually happens in this world. I have limited control over what goes on with my body, but I do have control over how I treat my body. And that was another thing I really realized today. Like, I need to start making better decisions on how I eat and how much I drink or not drinking at all, or, just working out and running, and not because I feel like I have to, but because I want to, because I I do want to be that better version of myself. I want to be able to run more majority of these races. I want to be able to accomplish more of these obstacles. I don't want to just struggle my way through. And that was supposed to be the goal for this year. And unfortunately, yeah, it didn't work out that way, which is, fuck, shit happens, man. But I just realized that I need to find... don't get me wrong, I'm going to be doing Spartan races for the rest of my life, and they have changed my life significantly. So much so that I have them literally tattooed to my leg. I have my dates, and I basically have my very short Spartan resume tattooed on my body. And I know I'm going to be doing these races for the rest of my life, because there is an energy when you show up to the venue, and you show up to race day, and the excitement and the nerves and all that is very addictive and it's very exciting. But today, it just wasn't there for me. And I need to reassess why I'm doing these races before I sign up for the Hurricane Heat event and before I even start thinking about next year. I have to really seriously think about this. I mean, I was crushed when the death race was ripped away from me. It literally crushed my heart into a million pieces. And I fought for it and I got it. And to be honest, I even questioned today. It made me question with how I was performing, I guess, today. It made me question if I even deserved it in the first place. I may have said all the right things to get in, but did I genuinely deserve to be in? And, I mean, I guess the universe, in some way, proved to me today that, not today, but previously, with everything that happened, it kind of proved to me that I didn't deserve it. And that's okay. I'm not trying to make it, sound like, oh, woe is me, or, I'm being really hard on myself. I think it's just the reality. Maybe I didn't deserve this. And, I mean, I didn't deserve for my body to check out on me. No, I didn't deserve that. But I guess at the end of the day, it kind of all brought me down to this point, to today, to this weekend, and to these races, and all of that, to, I guess it makes you realize a lot of things in your life. And that's the beauty of these races, especially of Spartan. It forces you to mentally check in with your reality, whatever your reality is. And that's my reality right now. I don't know why I'm doing these races anymore. And I don't think I should be as of right now. Am I still going to do tomorrow? I mean, at this point, it's funny because I kept fighting with all these thoughts and I felt really angry about them. And when I realized it 12 kilometers into the race, and by the end of it, I felt relieved in a sense. I don't know why. I think it's just because I kept having that conversation with myself, trying to figure out why I felt so upset or so angry that I was thinking these thoughts, because I don't know, but by the end of this race, I kind of just realized, I'm yeah, I physically can do this, and I should do it just to have it finished and to have it under my belt. And so am I going to do tomorrow? I don't know. I don't know. I want to say yes, I'm going to do it, even though I just said all this positive stuff and I'm gearing up to say yes. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to do tomorrow. I guess the reason I went today was because I definitely didn't want to disappoint anybody out there that might be watching this mini vlog series that I decided to do this weekend, even though this is coming out not the days of, but it's gonna come out probably the week after, during the week after this weekend. But But just for all the people that follow me and listen to me talk about these races, and the fact that I've talked about these races for 3 years too, I didn't want to disappoint you all who I've constantly kind of, you know, tried to motivate in the sense of, like, you can't do anything. And I don't want any of you to think I'm quitting. And I definitely don't feel like I'm quitting. I just have to reevaluate, I think, and understand mentally what's going on with me and reevaluate my loneliness. And I'm not angry anymore, which is great. I'm not really sad anymore, to some extent, I guess, depending on what you categorize loneliness, and maybe as a form of sadness. But I'm not, like, to, like, my core sad anymore. I think it's just kind of, like, coming to terms with the fact that this year just didn't work out the way I planned it to. And, again, that's okay, and it's not a big deal, and I made it such a big deal a couple of months ago, and I was so devastated by it, and I was devastated. I don't know, and it's okay. Like, none of this is a crazy big deal. And that the people that know me, and that I, you know, like my trainer, who is honestly like my brother. He's the brother, John, I'm gonna get him on this channel eventually, and we're gonna make a video together at some point, whether it's just like chatting or whatever the case may be. John is like the brother I never had, and I'm so lucky for him and his wife. Like, they're the greatest, one of the greatest couples I think I've ever met in my entire life. And, I messaged him today, and I was kind of telling him about all these feelings, and he reassured me in the sense that, like, I just have to listen to my feelings. I have to listen to what I'm going through, and it's okay, and that's not the end of the world. And I think that's the beautiful thing with the people that you surround yourself with, and the people that know you really well are the people that aren't going to judge you or aren't going to look down on the choices that you make, but they're going to support the choices that you make. And, I mean, whether I do this race tomorrow or not, I hope that I still have at least inspired one of you, or motivated at least one of you to get off the couch or get up and sign up for whatever kind of race it is. It doesn't have to be a Spartan race. It could be any kind of race, whether it's a 3K, a 5K, a 10K, a half marathon, whatever it is. Even if it's not a race style event, but just to challenge yourself in terms of challenging yourself in a way that's going to help you grow as a person. And it's going to help you, I don't know, become a better person, hopefully, in some way, shape, or form. Or at least it's going to teach you something about yourself that you didn't know before. And that, again, that has kind of been a really big thing for me with these Spartan races, is that they've taught me a lot about myself that I didn't know before. And, you know, had I not come to do this weekend, I would have continuously just been kind of, I would have continued to think I was content and everything was okay. But it's not okay. And it not being okay is okay. And that now I have a starting point. I have an understanding. I have some level of enlightenment of where I need to start and what I need to do. And yeah, so I wanted to share that with you guys. I guess that's why I haven't been posting, also why I haven't been posting a crazy amount like I have in the past all over my social media about me doing these races and all that stuff. And I guess, I don't know, it's not as big of a deal for me anymore. And I hope all of you understand that. And I hope that all of you aren't upset with me or aren't angry or aren't defeated with my defeat that I'm feeling. But I hope that maybe some of you out there have, I don't know. I don't know if this is going to give you guys any sort of insight into your own life, or if it's going to motivate somebody, or if it's going to just maybe help somebody out there to start a internal conversation with themselves, or what it may be. But I just wanted to share this with you guys. And that no matter what you're going through, literally whatever it is you're going through, it's gonna be okay. It will be. Trust me. It's going to be okay. So I'm going to enjoy my second cup of coffee. I am actually, fingers crossed, I mean, shit could still hit the fan. I think I'm having somebody over for dinner tonight, which is exciting. And because that means I actually have to socialize and get past my awkwardness and actually try and make a friend. Or a better friend, and see what happens. I don't know. I can't predict this shit anymore. I have no control over my life, and I'm okay with that at this point. Let's just hope that it's a sense of no control where it doesn't keep screwing me over. So I hope all of you are having a wonderful night or morning or afternoon, wherever you guys are. And thank you so much for watching this, if you are watching this. And if you would like, leave any of your race stories in the comment section down below, or any challenges that you decided to take on that impacted you in some way. I honestly want to hear what you guys have been through in your life, and how you got through it, or how you're getting through it, or how you are trying to get through it. I want to hear all of it. I want to hear all of it. I genuinely do, because I want to know that I'm not alone in the chaos that is my life. That somebody else is going through this kind of shit together as well. And let's go through it together. So yeah, I'm going to check out tonight, and then we will see what happens tomorrow. That is my response to tomorrow.